my mind goes back again to what I call my Jonah period of my ministry, where I knew that God was calling me to the prophetic. I did not anticipate what it entailed. I did not anticipate the ridicule and the mocking that went with it, but I just didn't want the responsibility. And so I ran from God. And in 1991, I had a very severe accident at work. 1,600 pounds fell on my body. Now, not directly, but it was enough to collapse my lung on my right side, break 3 ribs in, and punctured my lung. I had 3 thoracic vertebrae fractured, and my pelvis was broken in so many places, they stopped counting them. But they stopped at 28. 28 fractures in my pelvis. And still yet, I would not turn to God. I would not let Him have my life and say, Lord, take my pride, take everything about me, and do with it what you will. And God was telling me, I want a man to speak honestly, to speak simply, that all people might hear and understand, so that when they are held accountable for the words that I have spoken, then there will be no excuse. And so many times the power of God has come upon me, and I have prophesied, whether through the Spirit to God, praising Him, speaking of His great wonders and His awesome power, or a message from God through the Spirit to the church. And certainly the church needs to get ready. They need to be armed for the conflict. This is not a game. This is something that we are not playing around with. This is not a fad. It is known as a new life. It is known as a life of service, a life of dedication, and a life of commitment. And when I lay in the hospital for 3 months, couldn't get out of bed because I was so broken up, my heart returned to God. My soul cried out and said, Lord, and they didn't know whether I was going to walk again. They said, Lord, if you'll let me walk again, I will serve you and I will be your man. Now, I had a fellow one time when I had my clerical shirt on, and I did a video, and I had the pen prophet over here. And the man was very indignant, and he put down prophet. Really? You know, like, oh, that looks childish, that looks juvenile. And he's probably a man who does not declare his stand on Christianity. He's probably a man who will not stand in the storm. But be that as it may, since the time that I got out of the hospital, and it was a long journey to walk again, I had to start all over. It's surprising how the muscles lose their tone. They lose their ability to move together. But I walk. And the only thing that I came out with was what they call nerve drop in the left leg, where if I trip, I'm going down. I can't catch myself. I can't run anymore. and I cannot pedal a bicycle. My leg will not obey what my mind is saying. But thanks be to God, I'm walking. And I came through it knowing that He had a purpose for me. That old song, This Old House, has been going through my mind today. This old house, what's new its children. This old house, what's new its wife. This old house was strength and comfort as it braved the storms of life. But then the singer begins to talk about how the house is falling into disrepair and how he really doesn't care because he knows that there is a house in the heavenlies not built by hand. Pardon me. And God is the builder thereof. The scriptures say if the foundation or if the house is not built by God, the workmen labor in vain. And anytime you have a ministry, don't run from God. Do that thing that you are supposed to be doing. Because little is much when God is in it. It does not matter if you think that the place where God has put you is below you, which it really shouldn't even come into your thoughts. Or you think that the job is too great. Take it on anyway, and God will give you the strength and the knowledge and the wisdom and the gifts to do what you have to do. And I am not ashamed of saying that I am a prophet of God. I want to operate always in the prophetic. And when my time comes before God, I want to be able to say, yes, Lord, those I spoke were your words. I did not speak presumptuously. I did not speak to please man. I did not speak for popularity's sake. I spoke what the Spirit laid upon my heart. And when we do that, God will bless us abundantly. Not necessarily in this life, because I've always just had enough. I've never really wanted for anything except this hospital bill, and it looks like I'm going to pay it off myself. I asked God's people for help, and 2 people responded. But that's all right. God is going to supply. God is going to bring His man out. And hopefully God will be well pleased with what I've done, what I've spoken, and the spirit that I've shown in my ministry. God bless you. Stay in the scriptures. Apply them to your heart. For in them ye find eternal life. Maranatha.